What is up, Bitcoin Radio? Guess what? It's your man, Joe Blackburn. We are here for another amazing episode of Bitcoin Radio, WBTC, where Bitcoin lives. Man, do I have a show for you today. All right, most of you, you're aware I'm a huge sports fan. I really, really love sports a lot. I'm, from a very early age, I have whether it be an outdoorsman, whether it be going to go play a football game or basketball or soccer, as I grew up playing sports, being around the sports environment. And, as I got older and became less athletic, and as it became very clear that I was not going to be in the NFL or Major League Baseball or whatever it might have been, I became a spectator more than a participant. And I think that goes for most of us, right? If you're not, I know there are some pretty tremendous athletes within the crypto community. I've met several of you. But overall, I think most people can relate to, whether you are a sports fan or not, if you're in crypto, you appreciate exposure. If you're a sports fan, you know what kind of stage and what kind of presence sponsorships actually bring. I'll bring up the Litecoin in the UFC deal when they sponsored one of the UFC fights. That was a huge deal for crypto. Like, that was a win for blockchain in general. Like, that was exposure at a high level where people are really paying attention and seeing these things. The same goes for when I heard about the Miami Dolphins. And, obviously when I had David Schwartz on from the Litecoin Foundation, and he was explaining how they were getting involved as much as they could with some of these bigger names. Well, today we'll shift a little bit, but we're headed across the pond, across the Atlantic, heading over to Watford Football Club with Mr. Paul O'Brien. And then we got the consultant, Nick Miller, going to be joining us here shortly. They have a special deal going on with a very important sponsor to just my near and dear heart, Bitcoin. I'm not joking, folks. The Satoshi creation himself has Bitcoin on the sleeve of Watford Football Club's soccer or football, European style uniform. That is incredible. I'm so excited to be able to talk about this. So I'm going to bring on Paul here shortly, and Nick, and I'm looking forward to hearing how this all came about. But think about this, like, as a community, as the style of of community that exists in crypto. I remember 2 years ago, if something like this would have happened, oh my gosh, it would have been incredible. People would have tattooing Bitcoin on themselves because something like this happened, right? And so since then, things have kind of gotten a little bit more mature. I don't recommend going to tattoo Bitcoin on your sleeve, on your skin, but I do say, like, to me, this is such an incredible honor to be able to watch Bitcoin on the sleeve of one of the Premier League's teams. This is just so cool. Anyways, so I know you're tired of hearing me talk. Let me go ahead and bring Paul and Nick on. 1 second, everybody. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. What's up, Paul? What's up, Nick?
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having us here.
Oh man, I am beyond grateful for the audience today, boys. Like, this is cool. First off, to the audience, I want to introduce. This is Paul O'Brien. Paul is the tell me again, how do I say this?
Commercial director at Watford.
The commercial director. You know what I was going to say? Commercial for Watford. I don't know why I have that written down. The commercial director. So, in the States, we have a different way of probably saying that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Nick Miller, you are a great crypto supporter, but you're also the consultant as the Bitcoin and crypto consultant for Watford Football Club. Welcome to the show, both of you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
Paul, you guys just pulled off, to me, one of the biggest events in the history of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and blockchain. So first off, I want to congratulate you. I might be embellishing that, but that's on a personal level. I want to say thank you on behalf of the crypto community for you to even potentially just consider, let alone do this, man. Tell me, let's just start from the beginning. Is this like actually happening?
Yeah, it's very surreal. Actually, it's been a very surreal process. It came about through our front of shirt sponsor. So they introduced us to a world of crypto. Sports bet, who are owned by Coin Gaming. They introduced us to it. So do you want me to go through the whole history of how it happened, and then we touch on from there?
Yeah, actually, let's get into you first, Paul. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Okay, so I'm commercial director. We're a Premier League football club who we in the UK, it's a huge pyramid of football. We play in the top pyramid. We had a very successful year last season. We finished 11th in the league. We got to the FA Cup final, and this year we got a new front of shirt sponsor. So in the UK, you can have one sponsor across the chest, and then you can have one on the sleeve. So we the relationship with Sportsbet started in around April. We met them there, and then we signed the deal. They are a gaming company, but they specialize in cryptocurrency and in particular Bitcoin. The bizarre thing is I've known Nick for a number of years now. Nick is our in a different world at Scout. He is our he creates our website for us. So he's our tech guy. And then when we went after we did the deal, I spoke to Nick. We had a day at horse racing, and he was absolutely blown away that we did a deal in the crypto world. So from there, when it came to sleeve and we started speaking to Sportsbet about who we're going to put on our sleeve, just out of courtesy, saying a Visa company we're thinking about putting on the sleeve, Tim, who owns Coin Gaming, came up with this crazy idea that let's put Bitcoin on the sleeve. Let's do it. Let's put Bitcoin on the sleeve because it makes sense for them. It makes sense in a number of ways. They didn't want a lot of praise for this. They just wanted to promote Bitcoin and dispel the myths what come with it. So
you know how similar that is to the actual way the crypto community has always been, is that we can't do this without each other, right? And I have this saying, and I'll probably say at the end of this, if it's our job to take care of the cryptoverse, and if we're not doing it, who else will, right? And I love how Tim has taken that embodied that principle that has existed, right? So I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paul, but it's just really special to me.
No, it absolutely makes sense. And so when we went to meet them, they're based in Estonia. Tim is from Australia, but he's based in Estonia. When we went over to meet him, we brought Nick with us because Nick is he works for a club as a consultant on the IT side, but on the web side. But let's bring you with you, and then I'll bring you into this, Nick. It was well worth it because as they're talking about Bitcoin over dinner, Nick was jumping in with a number of ideas how we can utilize this partnership and this sleeve partnership to really maximize the effect here.
Yeah, exactly that. It was almost surreal when Paul, even first mentioned this thing to me. The fact that both football and Bitcoin, two of my biggest passions, came together at once.
Sure.
And all of a sudden,
it's like a birthday party as an 8-year-old. Like everything's
it really
just perfect, right?
I absolutely love what I do. Already, I love everything digital. And away from work, if I can even call it work, I love football. Big football fan. So the two things coming together were incredible. And as I say, almost surreal at the time. But it's not surreal. This is really happening.
It's a big deal.
Premier League Football Club are embracing decentralized currency, Bitcoin, and they are brave enough and pioneering enough to put it right on their sleeve. And I think that takes incredible guts and also it just shows what absolute kind of leaders they are in terms of sort of taking this technology forward.
Well said, very well said, Nick. And to Watford Football Club's credit, at the amount of people who have taken this step, I'm not aware of one. Right? I've seen, and I mentioned on the intro how I've seen Litecoin in the States. They actually went out of their way from the Litecoin Foundation, very similar to Bitcoin in the sense where it's got to come from a third party. Litecoin isn't an industry; it's not a business. It doesn't have a company, right? Same thing, obviously, Bitcoin, which is the parent of this entire space. It's the dad. It's the king. I look at what is happening here, what Tim was able to do, what Coin Gaming has been part of here, and obviously with Watford Football Club's intrigue, their guts, as you just mentioned, Nick. Like, it is a really big deal. Like, there's a lot of credibility on the line, not just for for simple things. We're talking about a football club that's in the middle of a city that is on the biggest stage in the world with the Premier League. It's as sports goes, comparable, what I would say to the NFL. I mean, this is a huge deal. And so let's actually talk about, Paul, real quick. How has this been received by your fans, by your team?
Our fans have received it well, but I think the real developments here has been in the crypto world. And even now, if you just search on Twitter, Watford FC, Bitcoin, it absolutely, the amount of people who are now saying we are Watford fans. And we have.
Hey, look, I'm in that. I fall in that category, dude.
Fantastic.
Go
Fantastic.
Watford.
And we've seen it. So, yeah, the reaction of Watford fans has been good, but really interesting world has been in the really interesting has been the crypto world, and how many people are now getting behind us. We're on, obviously, in so many countries across the world, but in the US in particular, the amount of Twitter comments on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook saying about they saw it on Fox or something like that, and how is Bitcoin on a sleeve of a Premier League club? So our audience is huge, is absolutely huge. And also on top of a sleeve, you've got the LEDs as well. You've got the interview backdrops as well. So it's not even while we're playing it, just while it's on the player's shirt. It's all around the stadium on a match day as well.
I was really privileged. You gave me a little video tour of what the studio looked like, and hopefully, and for those listening, we're actually going to have 2 segments to this. And I was going to announce this closer to the end, but I think it really fits in well here. Watford Football Club is literally putting Bitcoin on their sleeve, folks. There's a lot to actually talk about here. And it also includes part of, of where their sponsors stand and the reason why this is happening and the people who brought this to fruition on the financial level, who are actually paying the bill. There's a reason why they're doing this. And if you put Bitcoin on the sleeve, folks, you realize that is one of the most selfless acts that in cryptocurrency they can do for everybody else. Now, clearly, if Bitcoin goes up in price, I mean, that benefits everybody, but it's more than that. Bitcoin is a movement, and I'm not trying to be in any way political or any way, movement or revolution oriented in this conversation, because I would hate to give that impression, but I just appreciate that inner self-worth. And I really want to have that conversation with those people. And I think, Paul, you said we could probably make that happen after this, right?
Absolutely.
Oh man, yes.
They are a reason they brought this to a table, and all the credit for us needs to go to them. As great as this is, this was Coin Gaming and their vision, and Tim's vision in particular of how this happened here. So I just wanted, while you say on the sleeve, just to explain. So that's the front of our shirt, and that's where we've got the sleeve as well. So that's the Bitcoin.
Where can I buy that right now? I need one.
We'll send you one. But if you wanted to buy one,
yes.
It's if you go to www.watfordfc.com, and there's an online store there. There is also, as part of this, we've created, and Nick created it himself, a Watford Bitcoin website where you can log on there and see what we're doing with Bitcoin. Oh. There's going to be a crypto meetup, which we spoke earlier, and it'll be great if you can get over upon for that. So we're just organising that now. That's going to be in May, so it's going to be a conference here. There's a chance there's a lot they can do. People who have Bitcoin, if they wanted to go on there, have a look, you can get your name on the LEDs as well on the game.
Cool.
There's loads we are doing together.
If I have to swim across the Atlantic Ocean and start in April, I'll be there for that conference in May. Okay. I'm really proud of what this does for the credibility, for the exposure of, and obviously I'm speaking from the Bitcoin angle. You guys have a football club to run, right? So, yep. I mean, the sponsors, all that's amazing, but at the end of the day, you guys got to score goals. You guys got to win. You got to please your fans. I am here for Bitcoin's exposure. I enjoy the sport aspect. And obviously you have taken a very strong interest, and you have been involved in some capacity next in crypto for some time and blockchain. But, I love how credible this makes it. Think about this, folks, for the audience listening at home. You're talking about the Premier League, one of the most incredible and not just incredible, but credible leagues in all sports in the entire world. I mean, really, if you think about it, folks, I don't even know if you could compare the NFL to it because of how worldwide it is on a true world level. This is going to be everywhere, on TV screens, on replays. Every time somebody from Watford scores and they raise the right hand in success and just cheer, that's Bitcoin on their shoulder, right? I mean, or whichever shoulder it was. I think I saw the right shoulder.
Yeah. But well, that's it. I think you nailed it. I think the truth is here is, Watford's success is also Bitcoin's success, and kind of vice versa. You know, they almost they're working in tandem, and you know, as you said, the exposure that Bitcoin gets in all over all the TV channels, all the newspapers, social media, absolutely everywhere. Every time a Watford player is featured, and Watford are playing again. You know, some of the biggest clubs in the world, the Manchester Uniteds, the Tottenham Hotspurs, the Manchester Cities, the Liverpools, all of them. You know, all these games that are being played, you're going to be seeing that Bitcoin logo there. You know, so I think it's fantastic.
All right, so Paul, let me ask you this. Obviously, Watford has players on the football club, right? I mean, this is a players-oriented, sport here. So, how about the players? Have they? I mean, sure, obviously they've heard about this. I mean, are there players that were already interested in crypto or Bitcoin, in some capacity, or is this something that's intriguing them? Like, what's their thought process about this?
Okay, so there were players who were interested beforehand, and there's a couple in particular who were. They now are much more interested in it as well.
Cool.
What we like to do with any of our partners here is get all of the staff involved as well. So explain to a staff and the players who Bitcoin are, who sports gaming are. We've got Adidas as partners, American Airlines as partners, and try and immerse all of our staff and all of our players into this as well. So there will be educational workshops going on with our players in the next year about Bitcoin and what it is as well. And when you're over here, we may be able to bring you along as well to show them and introduce you to them and interview them as well, what they know about Bitcoin and how they're embracing it. But absolutely. And we're not very similar to US sports. We've got players who from every part of the world here. We've got players who have played for some of the biggest clubs in the world. And their social media following themselves is huge as well. So it's not just when we're just talking about the figures, and we could rattle off all of the figures. It's Premier League is played in 193 countries in the world, but also you put on that our social media, the players-centric social media, and the audience is huge for this as well. But the players are behind it. They were intrigued when we first announced it. We did one piece with a lady from the US who came over to the Arsenal game, and she was with Nick in the box, a lady called Mia Khalifa. And when one of our players, we were 2-0 down in the game, she said if a Watford player scores and we come back and draw, she'll give them half a Bitcoin. And
wow,
we did come back and we did score. A player who scored, and he was very keen to find out where he gets half his Bitcoin to donate it to his charity as well. So yeah,
we're hoping that's going to be like the Bitcoin pizza in a few years' time. That half a Bitcoin for that goal could well be, a monumental amount of money.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking potential, $500,000 or so potential dollars long term. Obviously, that's really, really that would be an excitable and embellished number at this point. But there's a mathematical formula that could make it happen. And obviously, I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression about the price, but I'm obviously bullish. I'm a fan. All right, so the Hornets of Watford Football Club. This is, I think a really special moment in time for Bitcoin, for the crypto space just in general, to be able to have something that's such a big deal that's playing on this stage. Between Paul, Nick, you guys. I mean, I live in the States. You guys are over there in the UK. As a whole, I feel like there's a lot of people in England and in the UK, and specifically, I don't want to be, I don't want to be specific to one area, but I know a lot of people from there that are already and have been interested in a long time, and I feel like it's been one of those countries that has promoted. I mean, I think Coinbase is out of UK, and like they began out of the UK, so or at least they're there now. I know that at a high level. Is this building? Are you seeing this as something that the population as a whole is starting to become more aware of, or is this something they're all still pushing back on?
I think crypto and Bitcoin in particular are definitely growing in this country. I mean, I think there was an article yesterday about how it was decided in court how Bitcoin will be treated as property in this country. That's massive.
That's a win.
I went to I think it was the Crypto Compare meetup. There was an event last year where Bitcoin's being discussed by the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, HM Treasury and someone from the Bank of England. And I think when you start to go to events like that and you see, people of those kind of backgrounds and representing those kind of organizations talking about Bitcoin, that this thing, in my opinion, is here to stay and is only growing. And, I think it takes, it takes a few times for people to hear about it before they actually, start reading a little bit more into it. The first or second time they hear it, they're probably hearing about some kind of, some kind of something to defame or disparage Bitcoin. But over time, they keep on hearing it again and again. They hear it at this price and then they dismiss it, and then they hear it at a higher price and then they dismiss it, and then they say, "Oh, it hasn't Bitcoin failed and gone to zero," and then all of a sudden the price is up again. So I think. I think in the UK, I think I believe that the UK want to make this country a hotbed of financial innovation. I think
for sure
what Sportsbet and Watford are doing in terms of collaborating, and bringing Bitcoin to the masses can only help that.
All right, so. Paul, I'll thank you, Nick. That was a really good, I think, introduction maybe to the culture over there. Paul, you had kind of explained to me some of the things and some of the ways that Watford has planned. And I don't know if this is something that you're able to go into too much detail or if you've even solidified for sure, but what, like the HODL box and among the few other things that you potentially mentioned as possible, like tell us a little bit about how Watford's embracing it that way.
Well, yeah, there's stuff which there's a few things which Nick and I are working on, so I can't talk about the plan. Is down the line you're going to be able to walk into our store, you're going to be able to buy whatever you like with cryptocurrency. You're going to be able to buy your pies at half time with cryptocurrency. You're going to be able to buy season tickets, you're going to be able to buy hospitality. That is the plan. So we completely we embrace it in all areas of a business. Bitcoin themselves, Sportsbet as part of this, have a box for Bitcoin box, and on there we have some great artwork of where Bitcoin started and where it is now. We've also got a HODL's Wall of Fame, which Nick's idea. Was that your idea, Nick?
Nice.
I think so. Yeah. The Hornet HODLers.
All the Hornet HODLers fame. So we're also getting merchandise which says something similar on it as well. So this is a start of a journey. This isn't a 1 year thing for us. This is a start of a journey with us and crypto. So absolutely. And when we get you over here, we'll show you all of this, but there's loads going on there. We're also talking to a couple of other partners from the crypto world as well. So I'm hoping that we can embrace it more and more in this season and beyond.
Yeah, and actually, I know some people that might be interested in at least having that conversation with you as well, Paul. And I'm one way or the next. It would be cool to connect you. Obviously, we'll talk about that at a later date. But I'm really intrigued by the scalability of the creativeness and Nick, I know obviously you're over there at Scout as a managing partner. You guys do a lot of things. You're clearly in tune on the technical side, and you've obviously been very successful. And the Watford Football Club, obviously, and Paul as your friend, they trust you a lot to be their lead consultant here. But you've got a huge responsibility here. Like, not only is this a cool idea, but now you got to do something with it, right? And there's so much that can be done, and there's so many ways that can be presented. What is your thought process when you're kind of trying to dice this up and figure out the best presentation models?
It's about how can sort of both sides benefit. How can Watford benefit from this, but also how can Bitcoin as a decentralized currency also benefit from this? And I think it's quite clear. I mean, from the commercial side, in terms of how Watford can benefit from this, if we're talking about taking kind of Bitcoin transactions, be that on well, probably not on the base chain, but maybe on Lightning Network or something like that, then we're reducing costs from a transactional perspective. If they don't have to pay the transaction fees on every single pie that when fans are paying for pies with their cars, or they're paying for items in the shop with their cars, and all of this stuff, if we can reduce the costs of those transactions for the club, that's a massive benefit.
So true. Dude, I love that you just said that, by the way. Like, the actual use case for what crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin are going to be able to help everybody with around the world, right? I mean, not just like in this circumstance, but around the world. But you're actually trying to find and use those reasons. That's incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And look, it's still very early stage and very early. But I think me and Paul both have some grand ambitions here, and want to kind of push the bar a little bit and see where we can take this, and hopefully other clubs, other organizations will follow Watford's lead on this, and start seeing the real benefits of this, because this isn't I think it's important that to state that this isn't just a novelty, this isn't just a kind of a fly-by-night thing. It's something that we really want to take forward for Watford and for Bitcoin and for everyone involved effectively.
Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, just on Nick's involvement at Watford. I've known Nick for years, as I say, but I also known his business partner Mike, who's a huge Watford fan. He used to work here back in the day before my time. When we did this deal, I phoned Mike and I said, look, I'm sorry to say I need Nick. I need Nick to come on a journey with us, because he has the core competence of crypto, which I didn't.
Sure.
Well, I don't have, and I'm learning as much as I can, but he's been in this world a lot longer than I have. So I need him. And fair play to Mike. He said, yeah, you can have him a couple of days. We agreed a time how long we can have Nick for. So, and it's been great from there. So I'm very thankful to Nick and Mike's company Scout for letting us have him. But I think I'm running you quite hard sometimes, Nick, aren't I?
No.
Like
I say, this kind of goes beyond just work for me. It's fantastic that I can do this as part of work, but I think in any industry you're always going to sort of produce your best results and perform it as well as you can if you're doing something that you absolutely love and you're passionate about, right? So I love doing this. I don't see this as a chore or laborious in any way. I do it because I genuinely have a passion for this, and I want to take it's fantastic to see both these industries kind of crossing paths and kind of intertwining with each other. So I think it's a win-win in for both football, for Watford, for Bitcoin,
Agreed.
and for the crypto community. It's
100%. Yeah, well said.
Yeah, and just confirm what I was saying about the crypto meetup as well, the conference we're going to have here. It's going to be on Saturday, the 17th, I believe it is, of May. And not only is it a conference, it's a chance for people to come and actually play football on our pitch as well, which we don't. On the 16th, sorry, yeah. Monday the 16th. We don't. Saturday, May the 16th. We don't allow that.
It's going to coincide with a very important date in Bitcoin, and no one can predict the exact date. But
sure, I already knew when you said it.
Yeah, so the Bitcoin halvening is due, I think, either on the 17th, between the 17th and the 20th of May, 2020.
What a cool way!
That's
good timing. Well done, Nick.
It's fantastic to mark that date with this, with this crypto event that Watford are putting on.
Yeah. So we're in a middle now of working with Nick and working with Sportsbet on getting some guest speakers along. Nick's got some great ideas who to get. I think we've got some very ambitious ideas who to get come along as guest speakers. So we're in the middle of that now. So it could be a really good meetup, but it'll be a Saturday morning. You'll be able to go on a pitch in the day, play some football, then go and have a nice meal and listen to some good guest speakers. So what better way of ending this season and then starting again next year?
And you could say the same about, the current halving rate, right? I mean, the current mining rate, and that's the good way to end it. I think that's incredible and well done, gentlemen. That's something I cannot wait to see how it goes down, and I will be there, right? At least even if I have to swim, I'm coming, right? All right, now. Go ahead,
thank you to you as well. Sorry, just to say thank you. You reached out to us out of the blue. It's really nice to speak to you about it, and it's really nice to know that we're getting some traction in the US as well. And as I say, we wouldn't have done this without sports bets, and I'll look forward to listening to the second part of this as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I got to give a shout out to also to Ditto our PR team, who really said I think they might be interested in having this conversation. And I think it was Sam who was really excited to be such a big football fan. And so cheers to you, Sam, for making this happen. But all right, before we wind this down, before we get off this, there's a couple more things I wanted to touch base on, and I'm going to forewarn you. I do this quick fire at the end of each episode where I'm going to ask you guys some questions. They're yes or no's. They're lighthearted. If you don't want to answer something, feel free to pass. But I would love to get your perspective. It's something I do with all my guests. But before we get into that, what has been your favorite thing about this, Paul? Like you've got a really big responsibility, as kind of I alluded to earlier. But what's been your favorite and most enjoyable part? Like, have you been able to kind of relax and take this in yet?
No, to be honest, I haven't. Probably my favourite part has been we announced this late. We didn't announce this at the start of the season like most clubs do. We wanted to get a spike before a game. So we waited until, just looking now on my list where it was about the 12th of September. And then we played Arsenal in the first game. And that evening, we were 2-0 down in the game. We came back due to all. And I came home, I looked on social media, and it had just gone bang. From every world. Now, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal, the coverage we were getting, the amount of people just around the world saying about, how's this club? I've never heard of this club. They've got Bitcoin on the sleeve. Or, wow, Watford Football Club embracing Bitcoin. It was a fantastic, for me, that's where I've enjoyed it the most, of looking and seeing it we're growing our fan base from there. I do look to see when we play, does Bitcoin go up? And it doesn't seem any correlation to that yet. But who knows? Who knows? We have who knows? But also, people in my team, on a Monday, I'll come in and they'll start telling me how much Bitcoin's gone up or fallen to that week. So everyone in the team has really embraced it from there. So I've enjoyed the ride. I think when it gets a bit quieter, because it's a busy time at the minute, we'll sit back and we'll really analyze it and think, yes, it's been a really cool thing to do as well. And finally, I was in Estonia last week with our Hertfordshire partners, and they were just so delighted with the sponsorship. They were so delighted of the coverage they're getting and the coverage that Bitcoin's getting. It's really nice to see, because going on the pitch hasn't been great this season. It's not been as, we haven't played as well as we thought we would play. We haven't played as well as maybe we could play. But so we have to step up off the pitch, and having the partners who are happy is of course, it's really helpful.
No, look, the culture within the obviously we call it soccer, the football, the football fans, the league, the sponsorships. I mean, that's very different than American culture as sports goes. Although I'm sure they could equally be critical and even nasty at times. They can also be really excited and really fun. And sometimes all it takes is one little change in something and hope. And when you have hope, that you have a lot of success in the future potentially. Coming, you got fans that are at least the patient, and that's how I feel about Bitcoin. You got a lot of people who are used to waiting on Bitcoin showing up, right? The price to get better, and so you got people who are committed, loyal, and excited about Bitcoin. And now you got a bunch of new friends, bunch of new fans, and I can't wait to see how my community, especially as it was little as it might be on the big scheme of things, I want to embrace this moment and this team, and I think it's an incredible thing what you guys have done. So once again, Paul, Nick, it means a lot that not only would you join me, but to share this story, to share this journey with us. I look forward to watching the rest of this journey with you guys. Now it's something that I consider I've got a small interest in this that's going to grow on a day-to-day, on a goal-to-goal basis, right? On a win-to-win basis. So I look forward to seeing what happens next. So once again, Paul, Nick, thank you for being here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Now the end, and this is the fun part. This is the quick fire. Okay. Like I said, and for those who my audience knows, my listeners, they know that this is coming. And I ask these fun questions. Like, again, if you don't want to answer it, just pass. No big deal. But I hope that you don't pass, because that's not cool. Okay. I'm just joking. Right. All right. And these are and I want to acknowledge this. This is of your own opinions. This has nothing to do with Watford or Scout for that matter. These are Nick and Paul. And I don't want to affiliate any answers with any official statements. Not that really matters, but it may be for you guys. But first and foremost, favorite movie of all time. Paul, you go first. American Beauty. Nick, great movie, by the way.
Probably Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, classic. Well done, sir. Yeah, it's both great movies. Great movies. Okay, next question. Aliens, have they ever visited planet Earth?
No. Go on, Nick.
No.
Oh man. All right. I would ask you to expand, but we'll move on. All right. Bitcoin as a political party, yes or no?
Yes. In this country, yes.
Sure. Nick?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Of all the things that have happened in soccer and football, or European football, American soccer, is a Bitcoin sponsorship the biggest and most amazing thing that's ever happened?
Nick?
It's one of. It's one of.
One
it.
of. Well
It's one
said.
of it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Paul?
It certainly has been a great journey to be on. Yeah, let's make it one of the best things that's happened.
That boy.
Yeah.
Look, you know what my answer is? That's the first time I'm paying attention to the Premier League. So to me, it's the most important and big moment in the Premier League's history because it caught my attention, right? I mean,
I think you and many others.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like I'm sure I know through reading through the Twitterverse and whatnot that many, Watford has gained a whole league of new fans through putting Bitcoin on their shirts. So it's brilliant.
Absolutely. Okay, last question. Bitcoin, can it be $1 million? Paul?
Nick?
Yes.
Fair.
But ask yourself what $1 million is going to be worth in, say, 15 or 20 years, because the value of $1 million today is something. That value of $1 million in 20 years may not be the same value or have the same purchasing power as it does in 2019.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, Nick. And you make up a good point. Even $1,000 or whatever number you want to put out there, the inflation, the amount of times it's been printed on. That's why saving $1 in a bank, you're just going to get printed on top of. I mean, Bitcoin's here to stay, folks. Anyways, it's at least here to stay on the shoulder of the great and mighty Watford Hornets. I'm so proud. I'm so grateful for your company today, guys. And I'll see you soon on part 2 of this, right?
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Nick,
thank
Paul.
you.
All right, Bitcoin Radio. Have a great one. Take care of the cryptoverse. It belongs to us. If we don't take care of it, who will? Cheers.